のが女王様なんてのはごめんっすね。
Oh, believe me, Nagsei, this isn't even her at her bitchiest. Continuing almost right from where we left off last week, the Red Queen had been gathering all of the musicians from her fallen vassals in the Band Snatch in preparation for her final battle with the princesses.
Princess は進化を遂げた。その力は本当に完成されたものなのか。
Micromanaging is not an effective way of running your business there, lady. Back in the present, the princesses and Nachi were facing down the big bad. Of course, the latter had to remove herself from the danger, much to her reluctance. With that, they then of course tried to figure out what this lady's deal was, and seemingly she was only willing to share those details with one of them, Iminamo, likely because she did see a lot of herself in the Water Princess.
What are you doing?
Staring contest.
Come on!
But I was winning!
Thus, she seemingly showed her a possible future for the Alice Spear. Yeah, it wasn't really clarified, so this is definitely me going more into theory mode, but I think the queen was aware of some sort of calamity that was coming. Of course, Minamo assumed that the queen would be behind it, but as she later confirmed, they were trying to accomplish the exact opposite. Because for this lady, she had just one goal in mind. Oh great, she's another one of those who actually thinks Pokemon evolution is actually a thing. But yeah, she then transported them to a new location, which the princesses assumed was someplace on the outskirts of the main town of Alisphere, ignoring the fact that there was a structure that kind of looked like the town square, except a lot more dilapidated. Yeah, she took them to likely a possible future for the Alisphere. Again, she didn't really explain anything, but did show off how she was going to be the final boss of the Band Snatch, as she hit them with variations of their attacks and abilities. Actually, I think she learned that more from her waifu. I mean, to be fair, they were all originally her powers that she had shared with the band, and had simply reclaimed them. From there, she finally started to give some actual motivations for everything she did in the show. As we kind of said earlier, it was seemingly to prevent some sort of calamity that would destroy the Alisphere. So yeah, basically these guys were the polar opposite of the Iliaster from Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds. To sum up that series in so many words, basically they were trying to prevent the progression of a children's card game, as apparently that would end up opening up wormholes to some intergalactic threats. Yeah, everyone makes fun of the motorcycle stuff, but really, this is the crazy shit. Point is that they were totally against the very concept of progress, as that would apparently bring upon some sort of disaster, which yeah, might have also acted as a bit of a subtle environmentalist message. Meanwhile, the Red Queen not only celebrated that idea, but was also trying to forcibly stimulate it through the Band Snatch and the Jamorks. And she got the exact result she wanted in the form of the princess who stood right before her. Have I mentioned yet how much I love this show? Like, I just love how this kind of recontextualizes a lot of the Queen's activities until now. She was basically a shadow mentor who was raising the princess's levels with tougher and tougher enemies. In this case, the Band Snatch, who would also act as a bit of a plan B if they actually defeated them, as at least she would have someone under her control who were powerful. Hence why they took their defeat kind of badly, as they were more than willing to fight for their queen and start developing the Alisphere in ways that it'd be ready for the calamity. So you could kind of understand where the queen was coming from, even though she was also conscripting these girls into fighting for her, and also instilling a survival of the fittest mentality, considering that all of the non-princesses would be forced out. Thus, Minamo kind of rightfully rejected her ideals, saying that they would fight whatever challenges came their way without being under this edgy queen's tyrannical hand, which even that was fine with this lady because, well, she's kind of crazy. With that, then, after activating their super forms that I think have actually been confirmed to be a reference to Ultraman Tiga, the princesses spent most of the latter half of this episode fighting the Red Queen. And fortunately, they wouldn't be alone, as Best Girl Nanchi led all the other victims of the week in a support chorus to power them up. bit of a pity that we only actually heard her sing, but considering how much of a production that would be to have all of these characters sing, it was very understandable. And regardless, it gave the princesses the boost they needed whilst also reminding the queen of her own more innocent days when she sounded a little less like a pissed off Tsubasa and instead an energetic Tsubomi.
平気だよ。だってみんな強いんだもん。だから心配無用無用。
What happened to you, man? Used to be cool.
With that, the queen just kind of casually cast frickin' Meteor and managed to push back the princesses, and yet they still had the ultimate trick in every Anime Heroes playlist, using their show's opening as an insert song. As a result, they got a new toy that, yeah, looked a tad bit familiar, as if our thumbnail didn't already give that away. And with that, the Red Queen was defeated, and seemingly only left behind her Muse-escent shard. Meh, she's not going to survive much worse, but I think she's even kind of turned on by it. You think I'm kidding, but no, that's actually kind of a canon thing with Fate. But yeah, like with the band Snatch, I kind of hope this wasn't the last we've seen of her. I mean, at the very least, I hope we get a few flashbacks of her as the Red Princess, as she was genuinely cute before she became, you know, the Darwin stan. With that, the princesses were seemingly returned to the present day, where they were able to celebrate their victory with Nachi and all of the other side characters, with a really good montage that effectively got across all of the characters that they managed to help over these 24 episodes. Well, this is certainly a fun ride, but I guess this is it for this show, and
この世界はもう少し安らかにあるべきなのです。
Alright, there was one more queen in Alice in Wonderland, wasn't there? So yeah, much like the OG Precure show, the first half of the series was written in a way that it could be enjoyed as its own standalone story for the most part. Now granted, in Futaiwa Precure's case, it was more because of a surprise extension due to that series and eventual franchise becoming far more successful than the creators could have ever imagined. Meanwhile, here, it was actually totally planned out. As a result, seemingly for this latter half of the series, we're going to have a bit of a shift in focus to two new princesses, Viola and Nige. The former just so happening to have a passing resemblance to that librarian senpai, who we theorized as the Sixth Ranger of this season. Yeah, apparently we were half right, as Neiju was going to be her partner, and kind of looks like that one girl who we also pointed out. Plus this one girl who looks like Micah from Blend S will become more significant later. I've heard that they're going to act as agents to this new big bad, the White Queen, thus putting them in opposition with our original trio, as is often the case with Six Rangers, as well as the FSI from Symphogear G. Also, on a bit of a side note, I am disappointed that the White Queen isn't being voiced by Yukari Tamura, considering that she would have played opposite the Red Queen in Naamizuki. Like, come on, Nano Fate, White Queen, White Devil, this stuff practically writes itself. But no, instead she's going to be voiced by Kana Hanazawa, because of course this lady has to be in everything. Granted, considering that Sumire has Nezuko's VA, I am kind of taking pleasure in having them reunite Nezuko and Mitsu, but still, come on. But yeah, that's all we know going into the second half of the series, and I gotta say, I do really appreciate them for taking such a risk with such a drastic and sudden change. We'll see how things end up playing out as a result, but regardless, this mid-season finale was amazing. It finally gave us some much needed reveals, and an awesome final battle with an interesting big bad. There's still, of course, a lot of unanswered questions, but that just makes me more interested for the latter half of the series. In a way, I find it quite fascinating how the Red Queen's investment in the development of the princesses as superheroines really wasn't too different than us watching it. Thus, when it was revealed that the Queen was a well-intentioned extremist, it hit all the harder when she pointed out how everything was going according to Keikaku for her. She got all she wanted and more out of the princesses, who will likely be going to the latter half of the series so OP that, yeah, I do think it kind of makes sense to switch perspectives to Viola and Neige. On that note, there are still plenty of unanswered questions, like what sort of role the White Queen is going to play, and what kind of calamity are they trying to prevent? Again, time will tell, but until then though, this is overall just an epic final battle with a villainess who I do hope we get to see more of in some form. It also just had a lot of great feel-good moments, like everything involving Nachi, and seeing all of the previous victims of the week. If the series had ended here, I would have left satisfied, though definitely wanting more, especially considering that there were a lot of unanswered questions. Thus, very fortunately, we do have a lot more coming. Indeed, we will open our eyes to the next time. Yeah, don't think I didn't catch that little reference. Thanks for watching, and if you're excited for more stuff to come, well, I think our videos could also help with that. We've got something new coming out almost every day, and some new series starting next month. So, look forward to whatever comes next. Until then, though, for now, my friends, and if you excuse me, I'm gonna go teach some people about how evolution actually works.